Alright, so we have the Solar, a large celestial. This celestial has 21 AC, as I said before, it is large, with 18 D10 hit dice and a 26 constitution. And again, it should be CR 21. Let's see what happens here. All the basic information's out of the way. We'll jump down into the monster's skills area. And we find that it has, what is that, 3 saving throws of intelligence, wisdom, and charisma, so all the low-end stuff, giving our celestial a +2 effective AC bonus. After that, we do have a whole bunch of resistances, but because it is a CR 21, it's going to get no benefit from having that many. And on top of that, we also have necrotic and poison immunities, but because it's not 3, we're going to skip over that for now. And that is it for the skills section. We'll now move into the monster traits area. And we have angelic weapons. The Solar's weapons are magical, and they deal an extra set of damage, which is included into the attacks. Divine awareness. The Solar knows if it hears a lie. Cool. Doesn't help us. Moving on. Innate spellcasting. Not surprised. And blade barrier. Excellent. 66 points of damage. All the other spells aren't going to be helping us. Control weather would probably be helpful, but I'm not too worried about that right now. And invisibility would be effective DPR, even though it does take its action to cast invisibility. So we're going to skip over that for now and just move on to everything else. After that, we also have magic resistance, and that's going to be an additional +2 effective AC bonus for the Solar. And that's it for the monster traits. So we'll move on to the attack actions, or actions in combat. And the Solar will make 2 greatsword attacks as its multi-attack. So we'll move on to the greatsword. And I'm going to quickly scan through and see that we have a +15 to hit with the greatsword, +13 for the longbow, and flying swords and healing touch. Well then, switching over to the workspace section here, I'm going to put in the 2-hit for the greatsword. The greatsword will be dealing, 22 points of damage plus an additional 27 radiant damage. The slaying longbow will deal 15 piercing damage plus 27 radiant damage. If the target is a creature that has 100 hit points or fewer, must succeed on a constitution saving throw or die. That would be handy probably later on in battle, because that's effective damage that it will deal. Let's come back to that one in a minute. Hopefully I don't forget about it, and if I do, someone please remind me. We have flying sword. So this would allow the flying sword to be part of the bonus action, and allowing the slaying longbow to be used as well. And then healing touch will just heal damage, so we're not going to worry about that one there. So for the time being, I'm just going to suggest the multi-attack of 2 greatswords for now. We'll see what happens a little later on after we put in legendary actions and whatnot. Alright, now let's take a look at the legendary actions. So we have teleport. It's going to be some effective DPR, but probably not nearly as good as some of the others. So let's skip over that for the time being. Dimension door. I think that's what I was thinking about. Dimension door. Just for the heck of it, we will say 28 for teleporting, which it could potentially do 3 times, but I'm sure Searing Burst and Blinding Gaze will probably be better options. So, Searing Burst for 2 actions. The Solar emits magical divine energy. The creatures of its choice in a 10-foot radius make dex saves, taking fire and radiant damage. Alright, so let's see here. That would be 14 plus another 14, and then it could teleport. Let's see what Blinding Gaze does. Alright, Blinding Gaze. The Solar targets 1 creature can see within 30 feet. If the target can see it, the target must succeed on a con save or be blinded. There's no real easy way to gauge Blinding Gaze. I'm going to have to go with no immediate effects for the Blinding Gaze, and I'm going to skip that for the time being because I don't really think that's going to help much at all. So, with that out of the way, let's move into the rounds of combat. Because of the blade barrier, I would suggest casting that on the very first round of combat. And then on top of that, we could do either legendary actions. Because after that, we can then jump into, okay, we have the blade barrier up, so we're going to constantly get that unless we lose concentration, which hopefully we don't. Then we can also do the multi-attack, and we do the legendary actions. So once we do that on rounds 2 and 3, wow, we're actually right at CR21. I'm shocked. Honestly shocked. We could fiddle around with this a little bit and say like, oh, we could use the slaying longbow too. And that slaying longbow would probably put this over the top a little bit, for sure, on the second round of combat. But that would take time to build up to as well. So it could be worthwhile to use that. It really depends. So right off the bat with how I found it, base, we're looking at CR21, surprisingly.